Governor Mills speaking to reporters today for the first time since the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the state for alleged violations of Title IX. Mills was in Bangor for the governor's conference on tourism. She says the lawsuit is a diversionary tactic, and no matter what people believe the law should be, it should be done through the congressional process, not by executive order from the president. She told WABI this is not about who's playing on the field. Mills believes this is another way the Trump administration is distracting Mainers and Americans from the real problems that they face daily.
The administration keeps trying to distract them. Oh no, let's talk about this small group of people over here and demonize them and try to kick them out of the military. God forbid we want more people to serve in combat on behalf of our nation. Or try to segregate them in a prison differently, or target them in schools. It's not about that. It's about what's happening to the economy, and right now, that's disastrous.
When Mills was asked about MSAD 70 in Aroostook County choosing to align with the Trump administration's Title IX policy, she said she is not going to give the school district legal advice regarding this debate. During the announcement of the lawsuit, two Maine students spoke in support of the Trump administration's Title IX policy, citing their experiences and feelings of betrayal. In response to those concerns, Mills says she has fought her entire tenure for women and girls in Maine. Mills says if the Trump administration cares about women and girls, it should start with health care.